Good evening from London, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. Today is Monday, and you know what that means. It means it's time for Mailbag, where we answer the questions which all of you have submitted to us via our Instagram story. But before we get on to the questions, let me introduce my panel for the show, and let's kick things off with the co-host, Clark Taylor. Clark, how are you?
I'm stoked to be back. 2 shows yesterday, had a blast. 3 shows if you include the pay-per-view. Just watching it was an absolute time of times. I loved it.
That counts.
It doesn't count, but still, like a day full of wrestling. Enjoyed it. Back here on a Monday, ready to talk about it again. And what day is it? It's Monday. It's Mailbag Monday. We've got a letter. Let's go, Blues Clues. I'm getting the reference out of the way early.
We've got a lot of letters, and one of the bits of mail we've got is from Bobby Petito. Shout out to Bobby. We'll be answering your question a little bit later on. But also joining us today, we have Shad. How are you today, Shad?
I'm doing well, Ben. I'm currently holding the title that belongs to Tatum Paxley, as she deserves to have every single title in the existence of professional wrestling. So if you currently have a title, make sure you FedEx it to her P.O. box. That goes for you, Logan Paul. That goes for you, Will Bruv Spray. That goes for you, Swerve Strickland. Yeah, all of y'all. So make sure you give the belt to the rightful champ, Cody. You don't hide from that. We'll see you on Tuesday. You can give it to her hands on. Yeah, let's get it in, man. Have a good show.
Cody just shows up on NXT and just hands over the WWE.
This is yours, Tatum.
Sorry, I didn't mean. I didn't know I was holding your gold. I'm sorry, Tatum. Here you go. That's how it needs to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe this is yours, Tatum. My apologies.
Last but certainly not least, we have Soul. How are you today, Soul?
Gentlemen of the esteemed daily, Wrestling Public Universe individuals, I have a statement here. I must read. As you know, last night on the Wrestling Republic Instagram page, there was postings of the NXT Battleground card that stopped after the tag match. I must apologize because that was my duty and my role. But unfortunately, I fell asleep because while it was a great show of great wrestling, that crowd was so minimal, like an NWA card, that I just could not get into it. And it put my buttocks to sleep. I sincerely apologize for my discretion. I will be more prepared and more focused for my future roles of daily posting live shows. But that is nonetheless there because we are celebrating, of course, it is going into Clash weekend. And that is the main thing we are focusing here. And that is the end of my statement. Thank you very much.
I'm going to be honest, Soul. I don't disagree with you about that crowd, but we'll get into that in a second.
NWA crowd.
I gotta say,
it looked like an AEW crowd, except it was in a right-sized arena.
Well, hang on, Shad. I think there's actually more to my statement.
Right-sized arena?
Yeah, get it up, you Shad. It says here. Wow, that's a powerful statement.
I didn't
know Tony Khan's.
On Friday.
You're going to be attending Clash, Soul, and so is Carlos BA. So maybe you guys will see each other there. Go up and say hi to Soul if you do see him. But
my meet and greet is just £50. It's a great meet and greet. Just pay me £50. They'll give you a wee signature and a photo. So thank you very much.
I'll never forget. I won't name the wrestler. But one time I was like fairly good friends with a wrestler, right? Where to the point where he DM'd me quite regularly and all this. And then I see him at an event. I walk up to him just to say hi, right? He was talking to nobody, and he charged me like £5. And I was like, "What?"
To say hello?
Anyway, yeah, say hello to somebody
who like. Or are we not guessing?
No, it's not. It's not Virgil. It's a former NXT UK.
That would have been $20.
Well, I'm still a big fan of him, but wild move. But anyway, guys, let's just go straight into that first topic. So you basically transitioned us perfectly because Well, we have a question here submitted by @Melissa.Robinson05, who is asking, should WWE run the UFC Apex again? Now, Clark, you posted, well, you did a take on last night's NXT
cut
where
out.
you said, pardon?
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
I can
fine.
hear you.
Can
Everyone
you hear
else
Ben?
can hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear Ben, and I can hear both. I hear both of y'all.
I can't hear you, Ben.
What?
Yeah, this is weird.
Just leave and rejoin, Clark.
I'll take
I don't
over.
know what's
Give me-
going on. I can't hear you. You're
Give me the
like
spot,
muted for
Red.
me.
I'll take
Basi-
lead.
Basically, guys, last night on NXT Off the Air, Clark said that what's it called? Yeah, the UFC Apex. Yeah, Bobby Petito is confirming he can hear me, Clark. This is on your end, and it's weird. It's only me you can't hear. But Clark said that the UFC Apex could be heard, unlike me, and that it was it was very loud. It looked great. They should run it again. All of these things was very positive about the UFC Apex. But I'm gonna say this: WWE or NXT or any wrestling promotion should just never ever run the UFC Apex again, right? Unless it's maybe for a weekly special or something like that. When it comes to actual premium live events, pay-per-views, whatever you want to call them, the UFC Apex just shouldn't be run. It looked great. The entire atmosphere looked fantastic. But then as soon as you started watching, I mean, you might as well have been in a library. There was barely anybody there, and it's not built for there to be sounds to be good crowd sound. It doesn't echo around the building. It's hard for it to pick up on camera. It doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. I don't know why they ran it, because it's probably fairly expensive to run, even though obviously TKO own it, because you've got to take everything there. You've got to completely change the the entire look of the place because it's set up for UFC events. And yeah, I thought truthfully, they should just never touch it again. I really didn't like it. But Clark, I know you disagree, but give me your thoughts on all of this.
So look, I completely disagree. This is a soundstage from a production standpoint that you don't have access to all the time. Why would you not utilize it if you can utilize it? It's the lighting, all of that. I understand it's an intimate setting, but look, it's not that much more intimate than other wrestling settings that we give a big pass to. Vegas crowd would be the only thing I would blame. We had some moments where it was a little bit quieter, but I don't think that has anything to do with the venue itself. And I think the idea of it being in the UFC Apex and the crossover aspect of it, Vegas is a walk-up city. We know that. From a marketing standpoint, that's what Vegas is, right? Sometimes people do plan trips to Vegas to see shows and whatnot, but generally speaking, it's a walk-up city. You get there, you buy tickets. So it is a different crowd to what we're used to at NXT, which is a more educated crowd, a crowd that it's generally the same crew of people that show up to the Performance Center every Tuesday night. And yes, it was different from that, but I wouldn't blame the crowd. And I thought the production was sublime. The production on a soundstage in a building like that in Vegas with that amount of resources was perfect. The stage was gorgeous. The lighting was gorgeous. All the entrances landed. I mean, the crowd was going crazy when Trick entered for the main event. I don't care what anyone says. They were all singing along to the song. That spot is one that I would point to. Everybody was singing "Whoop That Trick."
I mean, the only thing is, right, which I will disagree with you on. Yes, you are completely right. Vegas is usually, walk-up city, as you put it. But they sold these tickets as soon as they were, on sale, right? They basically sold it out immediately. A lot of it was invite only, too. So I don't think that's, I don't think that's a factor at all, to be honest with you, for this event. For an event.
What was the gate? What was the total gate?
I think it was 700 people.
Yeah, so I mean, you're looking at a small venue, and 700 people can't make that much noise, man. 700 people.
That's small. Less than there is. That's less than there is on NXT on a weekly basis, and that sounded 10 times louder than the UFC Apex last night. It sounded dreadful.
The Performance Center is smaller. The roof is lower.
Well, exactly. So you might as well have run it there.
I don't know why you wouldn't run the UFC Apex, especially given
the
fact that
to watch.
The gate Ooh, I disagree. 100% I disagree.
The
Awful.
most
Awful to
important
watch. I
part
thought
of
it was one of the
professional
best shows
wrestling
of
is
the
the
year so
crowd.
far. Oh, I
Sorry, I'm
loved it.
not about the in-ring act. I disagree with
And
that
I
too,
loved the
actually.
setting. I thought the setting was outstanding.
It looked good, but it sounded bad. And crowd is such an important part of professional wrestling.
I don't
that
know
just
that it
can't-
sounded that.
can't
I
believe
would
it.
be super curious to get the comments of somebody that was in the building. That's something that I'd be really
So
interested
would
in.
I.
What did it sound like in there? Because I'm wondering if the crowd experience was the same as you're saying, then I'm in agreement. But from where I was sitting, the crowd appeared visually to be involved enough, and understanding
they
that it is
were,
a
but
sound
it sound-
stage, a smaller venue with a higher ceiling than we're used to.
Run a sound stage.
I'm cool with it. See, no, I think from a production standpoint for NXT, it's more beneficial. You have more camera angles, you have more stuff to work with. There were multiple spots that were really good spots where they didn't miss a camera cut. They had a camera from every single spot available. Every spot you could ask for. They had the ultimate lighting. They had everything at their disposal, owned by a sister company, essentially, right? So
I
you're
mean,
looking at,
that's true.
you're
But
taking home, this is a freebie. How can you not
it's not a
utilize
freebie.
that venue when it's not literally? Yes, you have to move the stage, and yes, you have to spend money, but it's playing a home game in relation to
it's a
going
small
into
gate
another
too.
venue and having to split revenue with another venue. You take this thing over to MGM Grand, that's 16,000 now. All of a sudden, you're looking at, as opposed to 700, like you just mentioned. You're looking at potentially empty seats. You're looking at,
I'm not saying they should have run the MGM Grand,
also
but there's
costs.
a happy medium
Well,
between.
there's only like 15 arenas within a 6.5 mile stretch in Las Vegas. There's only so many choices. If you're going to run one of them, given the size, the Apex, where you have all the resources from a production standpoint, makes a heck of a lot more sense than one of the theaters down at the Bellagio.
So one of the
gonna go into a
theaters, you're
theater and do
right, but I'm on
500
about
people, and that's the only way
6
you're going to
to
get the same
10K
crowd size.
arena, right?
It's the only way you're
And
going to get the
I
same
don't think
crowd
the same
size.
size. I think 6 to 10K, right? I think they lost out on money. I think that I don't think it made sense. I think they would have made more running a bigger arena, even though they would have had to have shared, revenue. But here's what I will say, right? The most important thing, the best thing about NXT Premium Live events is the fact that it gives those kids an opportunity to work in front of a large crowd, which they're not familiar, with doing. It only happens 4 times a year. It doesn't happen very often. So I think that it's important that they do it in front of these large arenas. They can sell out. They know they can. And I'm on about 6 to 10K, right? I'm not on about 16K, 6 to 10K, 4 times a year. There's not many opportunities for these kids to get those shots. And I think last night was a huge waste. I don't believe for a second financially it was the better option. I think the reason they're doing it is because they're trying to run more events now in the UFC Apex, and it was a promotion for the UFC Apex and the fact that it can be adaptable. That's why I believe they did it, and I'm not happy about it. But Shad, you're also a big NXT guy, and I also have a feeling you disagree with me on this.
Throw them twos up. I think trying different things is a great thing in this industry, and I think when you have the ability to host an event like the UFC Apex and try to gear a show directly for that, I don't think it's a bad idea. I think a lot of people online are a little too critical on it, and it's one of those things where it's how you look at NXT, right? To me, into WWE, they are still a development brand. They're learning on the fly, and you have an opportunity to do something like this and kind of let it be I don't know, kind of like guinea pig in a sense, right? Where if you would have done this with Raw or SmackDown, people would have or a main event like a Raw or SmackDown pay per view for the main roster, it would have been even more up to coots. But the fact that you have this venue to your disposal, you can play around and do stuff like that. There's no love lost. I know that you said the 4 pay-per-views. You could run more pay-per-views. I mean, NXT also does big time shows. This could be a big time show for it. And I do appreciate the creativity. I don't think the production was as bad as people were sorting out to be. I thought it did look different, and I thought it was a unique style to it. I think they played a good part of catering to the UFC Apex as a whole. Having fighters in the crowd and it being in Vegas. It's kind of the opening first step of this new umbrella that is TKO with UFC and the WWE. And I ain't got that much of a problem with it. I thought the show was really good. I liked about every single match. The crowd was a little quiet, but the crowd is also 700 people, like y'all said. There's only so much noise they can make. A lot of the people being, guests like like TNA
Fighters.
people, UFC fighters, stuff like that, right? So you do give yourself a period of that, but there was enjoyment in the show. They were giving this is awesome chance to the ladder match to Obafemi. Like Clark said, the Trick Williams' entrance. I don't think it was that bad, and I thought it was unique, and I think they should keep doing it. I think it should be a pay-per-view a year. Like I think we should have battlegrounds as that, especially if you got a queen of the underground now. Lola Vice, this could be her kind of thing. Like you create a different image or a different thing in the wrestling space that's different from everybody else. I don't have that much of a problem with it. I don't think anything is a waste. I think if you got three good matches, something positive happened because there's a lot of wrestlers last night that benefited from the PLE, Kalani, Oba, the list goes on, and
Yeah,
Lola
no,
Vice.
you are right. I think me using the word waste is a little extreme, but I just do think they would have had more valuable experience, working in front of a larger crowd. Now, you are right, testing things, out, and WWE have done this a lot with production. Testing things out first in NXT is a wise move because, hey, it's not got as many eyes on it. So it's a good product to do that with.
The match I would agree with you on. I think the latter match could have benefited being in a big crowd because that was a very fun match. But I don't think it was a bad match by any means being in a small venue. And yeah, like you said, a lot of it is also just getting them comfortable. Like this is around the same size of people they work with on a weekly basis, but you give them reps. And like I said, I feel like you can have more pay-per-views, more premium shows. You could have a big time NXT on at the Apex, something like that. Like I wouldn't just shy away from it. I think if you have something like that, you use it to its benefit.
Fair enough. I mean, we do have a couple of comments here. We have Josh saying the non-hard cam side of the arena looked odd. There were like 5 front row seats, a big space behind. I mean, yeah, I do agree with that. I think visually it looked a bit. I didn't mind it visually. It looked a bit unusual, but I think there was also benefits to it. But it was mainly the crowd that I had issues with. I wouldn't mind them returning, by the way, for a weekly special. For example, like I don't know, Halloween Havoc or something where they just
Yeah, heat
return,
wave or something like that.
yeah, exactly. Where it's not a premium live event, so they're not taking one arena show away, but still, it's they're still making use of the venue, showing it off, and it's just something cool. You do NXT Underground, whatever. But so I want to get your thoughts on this because, as you said, it put you to sleep.
So here's the thing: the last major NXT event was Stand and Deliver, and that was 16,000 people. And since then, NXT has really continued to grow. TV ratings have gone up as well. There's been a lot of buzz around it. So I don't get why you would take a big event like Battlegrounds and just take it to the UFC Apex. I understand, obviously there's a TKO thing and thing like that. Most importantly, like if they see when Mania 41 comes around and that week up to it, and if they put the regular NXT show there, I have no problem with that. I think that'd be absolutely grand. And it's a kind of a cool way to use the thing, and people coming into Vegas, like, hey, come in early and do this UFC Apex thing with NXT. Could be interesting. My major thing with it is like this show had 2 really kind of major historic free matches on it. Crowning a new champion of the NXT Women's North American Championship. TNA versus WWE, the first time that's ever happened. 2 champions of 2 different companies that WWE's allowed in to face them is kind of historic in itself. And obviously Ethan Page literally was just with AEW this year, and now he's in NXT. Like, imagine if this had like something like the Wells Fargo, because honestly, I think NXT could push high numbers for tickets now with the way they are. Like 15,000 at least for these guys would have been absolutely nuts. I mean, think about when we go in the record books, right? when was the first time a TNA champion and a WWE champion faced off? It was in a UFC arena in front of 700 people. It's not going to look really, really good. I feel like they just deserved more. I feel like the people on the card with all the moments and the big matches there truly just deserved an actual big crowd to have a buzz on it. If they wanted to bring the NXT weekly show and do one there, that's fine. But then you are going from a place you do big numbers from, bigger numbers, and then going to the Apex in itself. It's just a showcase for the place, I think. I honestly don't think they'll do a yearly show here or anything like that. I think if anything, it'll just be like a big showcase for it, and they'll do it again when they're in Vegas. I just think, especially when you had a matchup like Jordan Grace versus Roxanne Perez, it definitely did deserve a actual amazing crowd that NXT can pull for it. I just think it's a bit of a shame.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Soul. I really, really do. But now we're going to move on to the next. Actually, before we move on to the next question, David Marr just saying, TNA coming, having a partnership with WWE is very interesting. I agree completely. And like Saul said, that was one of the reasons why this event had so much momentum, and they probably could have made a big profit off ticket sales in a larger arena. Something to maybe ask about if you're, if maybe some of the investors will be asking about that on the next earnings call. I really, really would not be surprised if that is a topic on the second quarter's earning call, which will be happening, I think, not too long now. But let's now move on to the next question. And Clark, I'm bringing you in for this one. We have a question of Neo Martin 97, who is asking, who will be the next male wrestler under the age of 30 in WWE to win a world title? For the sake of this question, let's say world or WWE title, the main title on the main roster brand.
This is a brutal one because my answer is Braun Breaker, but I think it should be Obafemi. I love both, and I think both deserve to be world champions, and I think they're both excellent, and they do different things very well. But I'm blown away by Obafemi every time I see him. He catches flying humans out of the sky as if it's normal. I mean, grown adult men, he catches them as they're traveling through the air and redirects their path in a way I haven't seen in a long time. People aren't that athletic, that strong like Obafemi is. Braun is explosive too, for sure. But there's something about Obafemi on the microphone that for me, I got to give him the nod. But my pick, if the question is just completely objective, who do I think it will be? It's Braun Breaker. Who do I think it should be? It's Obafemi. That's the way I look at it.
Great. We're really well said, Clark, because, here's the thing. I think both of these guys are going to be world champion. In fact, I think both of these guys, no brainer, will be a world champion within the next 18, worst case, 24 months. I said it by the first time I saw Obafemi, right? It was right at the start. Everyone was on Braun Breaker from, as soon as they saw him, because of the way he was debuted. With Obafemi, it wasn't like an instant thing. I said straight away, as soon as I saw this guy in his debut, I said, hey, him and Braun Breaker are going to be the Rock and Stone Cold of the next generation. And everybody called me out for it. Everybody called me crazy, all of this stuff. And now guess what? Everybody's saying it. I agree with you. I reckon Braun will be the one to do it first, very simply because he's already on the main roster and he's already killing it. In fact, I'm going to be completely honest here. I reckon he might win that championship before Mania. I really, really do.
It's possible in this calendar year.
Yeah, I really think that is entirely possible. Obafemi, though, like you said, heck of a talent. And I think as soon as he gets up on that main roster, whoa, I don't think it's going to take long. No. But, guys, something, just as good as Obafemi are our good friends over at Next Level. Now, if you guys don't know what Next Level is, basically, they've got all our social media links. They've chucked them into one place. And yeah, this one link, one place, all our links. It's nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic to see all our content across all platforms linked all in one place. They also have an app. It's completely free. And there's a thriving wrestling community on there. A lot of wrestling content. It's extremely fun. Once again, that's nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic to see all our content across all platforms all linked in one place. But now let's move on to talk about the next question. And the next question, this is indeed quite an interesting one. It is submitted by @legend.killer, 14-time champ. And based on the username, this question's quite predictable. They're basically
he must have
asking,
some voices in his head, I think.
I was thinking a big Ryback fan.
Hey, nothing you can say.
Yeah, he must be burning in some. Anyways, what's the question?
So let's break down this username for a minute, right? Legend Killer, Randy Orton, 14-time champ. I'm going to take a wild guess and guess that this question is about Randy Orton being a 14-time champion. Oh, wow,
Yep.
I am correct. He is asking, can Randy Orton break Ric Flair's record? Now, it's important to note that that record is not only Ric Flair's, it is shared with John Cena. But, Shad, do you reckon Randy Orton could break the record which John Cena and Ric Flair currently hold?
Ooh, man, I had to think about this one all day when you put the topics out there, because he's close. He would need 3 title defenses, and Randy Orton, in my opinion, is arguably one of the greatest heels of all time. He is in my personal top 10 wrestlers of all time. He might even be in my top 5 personally. And I think the world of him, and I think he is. If anybody is deserving of it, it would be Randy, because Randy's put in a lot of work in the last 20 years. I always say, to go from being the legend killer to becoming a legend is incredible. Like, you don't see it happen a lot. Randy was the next big thing. He was the young hot commodity when he came out, and now he's a seasoned vet. It's difficult because that is 3 title reigns, and that is in a roster that has a lot of young up and coming stars and a lot of people that are super over, and a lot of people who are a little bit more over than Randy in the current juncture of professional wrestling, a Cody Rhodes, a Roman Reigns. Maybe The Rock could get another title defense, like you were saying, Braun Breaker, Obafemi way out there. I think Randy will get another title defense. I think he might get at like 15. I don't think he's gonna get 17. I think getting 3 more reigns in the current juncture of where he is at his age, health, and just how booking is in WWE, and it kind of turning the leaf, utilizing on a lot of young talents. It's hard for me to say that. If it's a case for WWE wanting to course correct and make sure Flair doesn't have that record, that could possibly happen, but I don't think they care about it as much as people used to think they did. I don't think those records mean as much, and I don't think they have that much issues with Flair as, even though he has a working relationship with AEW now, I don't think it's that sour of a relationship where they're like, oh, we got to make sure Rick don't have the record. And if anyone's going to break the record, it's going to be Cena. Cena might get 17 before he's completely done. But
Wow.
I don't see Randy being the guy who gets 17, even though I think he's deserving of it, man. I would not be upset with him beating Cody Rhodes, like at a SummerSlam or something like that, and getting it, and then kind of going trading back and forth with the belt. Because Randy's like, you have him until you miss him, man. It's one of those cases, like, and we grew up in it with him, and we've known him for being there, but he ain't gonna be wrestling forever. And the fact that he's still so good, like he has an arguable match of the year at his current age, I think he does deserve it. I just don't think they're gonna do it for.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, but I also agree with Bobby that it would be interesting, if he did do it.
Oh, he deserves
I mean,
it. But
I definitely would say he's got a more of a chance than Cena. I don't think Cena's going to have another championship match, if I'm being completely honest, in WWE. I reckon he has maybe 2 matches left in him, and that kills me to say it. Really, really does. An interesting comment here. Josh Markowitz, NXT
No, it's
next
next level. That's our sponsors. That's our sponsors, Ben.
no,
Being a team player, Ben.
You think he means
No.
NXT
I
level up?
thought
No, he's being a real team guy.
I thought he meant
Level up.
what I
Level
just said.
Up was better than Obafemi.
That would
I
be
think
thought
he
crazy.
that
is.
too.
That's
I
a
was done.
wild
I was in the same spot.
No,
No.
shout out, Next Level.
wild.
Talking about
The
our
only
sponsors.
thing better than Obafemi. Shout out to you, Josh.
The only thing more powerful than Obafemi.
Yep.
Next level did gorilla press Clark and threw him into a ocean. So they are
I'm
that
not
strong.
that
They're
gorilla
stronger.
pressable.
They're
I'm a
strong,
big
man.
guy.
They
But
did,
now
trust me.
let's
Oba
move
could get
on.
me, but not many others.
Next level can too.
Maybe next level.
We've got a question here from Bobby Petito in Seoul. It was the same question which you were asked a few months ago, but let's see if there's any update. The question is, who are the best unsigned wrestlers on the UK scene right now that deserve a contract at any company? And I'm going to take this question from Bobby Petito a step further, and I'm going to
Okay.
also say, what company should they sign for?
Put me on the spot, big man. Get my spectacles out. Actually, why do I wear these? I can't even see out of these. Damn it. So stupid. Right. So I pulled up some names here. Pounded up 2 guys and 2 lassies who I kind of think would be interesting with their mixes. And I don't think I've mentioned these people before. If I have, sorry. Cool. First one is someone who's an absolute maniac. This is somebody, she can fluctuate from working a death match to a family-friendly show like that. She is the main event empress, and that is Emerson Jane. So if you don't know who Emerson Jane is, go onto the TNT Extreme Instagram page, scroll down, and you will see a picture of her getting a dart thrown through her cheek. That is Emerson Jane. Oh yes, it's a mixed gender match, and her opponent is putting a dart right through her cheek. Yeah. That's Emerson Jane. She holds a few belts. She holds the Y Division Women's Championship in Discovery Wrestling, promotion owned by Joe Hendry. She owns tag titles with Rio, who I mentioned on the top British wrestlers list. That a lot of people love that list. Thank you very much, guys. So yeah, Emerson Jane, crazy. Gotta love her. She's absolutely nuts, but great. I'll go on to another female wrestler, and this is somebody who has done some quite amazing things within our little scene. She's under 30 as well, so maybe she could be the next under 30 champion. She is the Bionic Woman. It is Alexa Nicol. Alexa Nicol is somebody who's, as I said before, done really great things. She's held quite a few interesting belts: the Femme Fatales Championship, the BW Women's Championship, the 365 Global Women's Championship twice. Obviously, being under 30 as well, it just shows that she has a lot to give. You know, she's still got a lot of time to do many great things. Honestly, yeah, somebody really great. Moving on to somebody that I think you'll know very well, Alison, because he's from Wales. Hey! And that is Nico Angelo. Nico is an exceptional talent. He's held the TNT Ultra Violent Championship, I believe. He's also worked in No Mercy, a place I've interviewed before. He's done stuff in Riot Cabaret. He was trained by Mark Andrews and Wild Boar, obviously former NXT UK guys. I know he's kind of like, I would say like he's kind of like Michael Oku in a way. He's really got that quickness and ferocity to him that could just snap out of an instant. So highly recommend from that guy. Finally, I figured, you know what? I don't think I've mentioned this guy. He is under 30 as well. He is also a current world champion. He had probably one of the best matches so far on the British scene. Yeah, honestly, I feel like he has. He is the current reigning Progress World Champion, Kid Lykos. Lykos, man, that whole rivalry with Spike Trivet for the Progress World Championship was sublime. Honestly, the steel cage match was amazing. He recently had a match for somebody I interviewed, Mark Haskins, which at Super Strong Style 16, which is an absolute banger in itself. And I think like with him, he's going to be taking Progress into a very bright future. He's went over and did stuff with the States. He's got the tag team with Lykos Gym, obviously with Kid Lykos too. Being under 30, man, and just having so much to give and being so loved by the Progress, I was going to say Progress Universe there. Oops, sorry. Progress fans. He really is standing up to the whole principle of Progress, which is that strong style of British wrestling. Again, under 30 as well, and already a Progress World Champion. I feel like I don't think many people have done that for Progress. So I mean, hey, fair play to them.
No. Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
forgot to mention which companies to sign them for. Shoot. Right. Kid Lycos, I'm going to send him to NXT. Nico Angelo, I'm going to send to TNA. Alexa
choice.
Nickel, I'm going to send her to TNA as well.
Ooh,
Emerson Jane, I'm going to send her to AEW, part of the Blackpool Combat Club. Because if you've got somebody who's having a dart through the cheek, hey, look, I'm saying, I think Emerson Jane would be a very, very fine fit for the Blackpool Combat Club. Obviously, she's from the UK as well. I could see Brian look up to her and be like, "You're nuts. I like nuts," and just bring her in, and she does like the Moxley kind of stuff. Like she could have like the whole skewers in her head. I think she's had syringes in her mouth as well. She's had darts. She's done extreme matches with Seshimov Martina. Like, I'm not kidding, guys. Like, after this, I'm probably going to show you guys images, and we're going to have a look at that. She's nuts. She's crazy. She's basically Michael Keaton in Batman 87, which is just this is crazy. So, Emerson Jane is an absolute beast, and get her in the Blackpool Combat Club.
Another thing about Kid Lycos as well is people forget that he retired from wrestling, and then he came back, and then he's still done it all. He's won the Progress Championship, and again, he's under 30. It's crazy. Hell of a career, and hopefully he'll have a hell of a future. Some great choices there, Saul. Absolutely. But what wouldn't be a great choice, or at least in my opinion, is if CM Punk screws McIntyre at Clash at the Castle in Scotland this upcoming weekend. Everybody under the sun is predicted it, and it's leading into our last question, which is from at SYRX7017. Can Drew win and disprove the rumors at Clash at the Castle? Of course, the rumors, the speculation from everybody is CM Punk is, going to screw over Drew McIntyre. And it just all seems a little too obvious for me. And I'll tell you why. CM Punk was on TV every single week for WWE for months through his injury. And then just randomly he stops coming to TV as soon as Drew McIntyre starts a title program. It just screams of a Punk interference. It's so obvious. It's so predictable. And I don't think it's bad if it happens. But I think McIntyre should win the World Championship anyway. This guy deserves it. No shade to Damian Priest, but I'm going to throw shade to his reign and his booking. It has just been very mid, in the words of Maxwell Jacob Friedman. So yeah, I think it's time for a new champion, and McIntyre, with the amount of momentum he's got right now, he deserves that belt once again. But Soul, you're going to be there. What's your reaction going to be if CM Punk does cost McIntyre?
So here's the thing, right? Obviously, Clash was coming up and all that, and they're doing a lot of stuff around Glasgow. Piper Niven's going to be doing meet and greets. AJ Styles doing meet and greets. So is Austin Theory as well doing meet and greets. Nothing has been said about Punk, obviously. Now, obviously, they've got the kickoff show there. I'm pretty sure Priest and Drew will have a little segment. Honestly, if they're going to do this, I can see them keeping Punk absolutely hidden. Not appearing on the SmackDown, not appearing on the kickoff, not doing no meet and greets. And literally at the Clash show, they'll have his music hit. And, if they want to do the interference, I can understand for the story and all that. But honestly, you have a bit of a story here with Drew getting that moment in front of... He got the moment in front of the Mania fans, but now he's going to get that moment in front of his countrymen. Didn't get it at Clash the last time, obviously, because Roman was on the Roman train. We kind of figured that. It would just be very whiplash. I mean, here's the thing, though. I think it would be absolutely hysterical. Obviously, they've announced a Rangers top for Clash at the Castle, and pretty much I'm sure Drew's going to come out with that. If Punk was going to cost Drew, I would put him in a Celtic top, just to really start World War III in Glasgow City Centre. So much so I think I'll have to get the actual army and the Royal Garden just to calm the hostilities. But none upon it less than that. I mean, if Punk costs Drew, of course I won't be happy. But then again, if Punk does try to cost Drew, I'm sure he'll end up tearing another bicep again, and we really need that to happen. I mean, hey, his children or adoptive children are already fighting him on NXT. So, I mean, who else is going to be turning on his back? Who knows? Maybe the fans. I hope they do, because that'd be absolutely hilarious. But nonetheless, I'm just more excited to see the Scottish team get, representation on this card. Obviously, Albert Fire and Isla Dawn, Piper Niven, and Drew getting that moment is really deserved for these guys for what they've done for the Scottish scene. So yeah, I'm happy with that. I ain't worrying about Punk. Not at all. No, not at all.
The funny thing is, if McIntyre really does come out in that Rangers-inspired kit, then there's a genuine risk some of the crowd turns on him. That I just don't think it makes no sense to do. But I think you might be right. They might do it. They shouldn't, but they might. Shad, what about you? Will CM Punk cost Drew McIntyre at Clash, or could McIntyre defy the odds?
He's absolutely costing him this title match at Clash. It's signed, sealed, delivered in the words of Stevie Wonder. I definitely see it. I definitely see it happening, and I think it is the right thing to do. It is the right thing to do. Drew McIntyre's entire, existence these last couple years is coming up short. he gets the short end of the stick, and I understand it's important to have your moment. They gonna do these Clash shows a lot more. Drew McIntyre is a heel. He doesn't need his sympathy moment in front of the crowd. That doesn't matter too much. The story is more important than the moment at this current juncture. This is what happened to kayfabe, guys. What happened to kayfabe? CM Punk is gonna cost him. Hold on, hey, let me talk, sir. Let me talk. You got to talk. I'm good to talk right now. All right.
Nice,
I think it's beneficial because CM Punk and Drew McIntyre is going to be one of the marquee feuds that WWE desperately needs now, especially on the men's side of how things are going. They need something that's going to put butts in seats, that's going to make people want to watch it. And we got a big SummerSlam coming up that this could be a marquee match for it. That doesn't need a title. I still think Damian Priest has more. There's more meat left on the bone for his title reign. I think it's progressively getting better personally, and I think the Judgment Day storyline has a lot to tell, especially with the outliers of Finn and McDonough and Dom and everything with Liv. Because I think what's gonna happen is Priest and Rhea are gonna end up butting heads from the beginning. They're gonna come back in line to be the good guys of the Judgment Day, and everybody else is gonna turn on them. And I think Priest is gonna have a match with Finn for that title. So I got Priest retaining, and yes, I got CM Punk helping Damian Priest for the second time.
I completely agree with your prediction, Shard, but I really hope we're wrong because I do not want to see it.
Oh
McIntyre.
man, as a proud American, it would mean a lot for y'all to cry miserably over there.
76.
Get it up here with your oil and all your.
Oh, here we
Proud
are.
to
Here
be
we are.
American.
Hey, look,
At least I
Damian
know
Priest is
I'm
an absolute terrible
free.
heavyweight champion. He should have cashed in on Finn at SummerSlam last
Oh,
year. He's been absolutely terrible. He held it for too long. Other people
I
came and took him to
am a
spotlight his
real
opportunity. That's not
man.
saying it now, but get it up, the Americans.
Sing the Hogan theme song before we see it.
All right, so look, I am a real American. Fight for the rights of every man. No, so the way I look at this is, look, I'm from Chicago. Punk is neither here nor there for me. I like him. I love him. Sometimes I hate him. I don't know. Huge fan of Scotland too. Clash at the Castle. I thought I was going to say something entirely different here. But after listening to both Soul and Shad and you, Ben, break this down, I had an idea. I feel like we're in a position as wrestling fans where sometimes we might know a little bit too much. We've got Drew McIntyre main eventing in Scotland, so we have an assumption that it's either going to go one of two ways, which is CM Punk, costs him his big moment, or he has his big moment. What if we did both? What if Drew McIntyre beats Damian Priest, holds up the title, and as he's having his big moment, oh no, CM Punk ruins it again and does a little bit of a callback to something we've seen in his past. Picks up that title and is the one that walks out of the arena with it. Punk obviously has he's got a history with drama in UK settings. We've seen it before. Why not steal the title? So Drew gets his moment up and Punk ruins it again in front of his own crowd. Ruin it. GTS, that belt's mine, and walks out of that building And then just like Soul said, they're going to need the military and the police and everybody to figure out that riot. But give Drew his moment. Give Drew the title. He goes over on Priest. Oh no. And then da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Little cult of personality, a little GTS, a little walkout with the title. Probably not through the crowd because that could lead to a crime. But the exit of the building immediately. And that's if I've got the pencil, that's the way I'd book it. It's the one thing we don't see coming.
I never understand in wrestling why people take somebody out during or before a championship opportunity when they're feuding with them, because it's obvious they've got them next if they win it.
Yeah,
so
let him win it and then just beat him up and take the belt with you. Steal the belt.
Ruin the ending. That's the opposite of Clash. This time McIntyre wins, but he doesn't get to sing a song at the end. Literally the exact reverse. Yeah. Well, there's going to be no Tyson Fury, none of that. But we've got a couple of comments.
The Damian Priest disrespect from everyone is crazy, bro.
Nobody
Like,
cares about Damian Priest.
I care about Damian Priest. I care about Damian Priest.
I do want to look at these comments. I do want to look at these comments before we.
I definitely care. He was at the Puerto Rican Day Parade yesterday with that belt, man, looking like a freaking star, man. Come on.
I'm a big fan.
But Bobby Batista was saying Drew McIntyre should win at Clash and then wrestle against Gunther at SummerSlam. That's a good point, though, to be fair. Of course, Gunther does have the winner, so McIntyre Punk can't really happen unless Gunther maybe challenges Cody Rhodes instead. Maybe
what if Punk just takes it, though? He just takes the belt. This is mine.
Well, we can have an interim championship.
Petty theft. Have we considered petty theft?
And then you run a singles match in Berlin. Maybe. It's possible.
Hate to break it to you, Bobby. Gunther is wrestling Tatum Paxley at SummerSlam.
Main event, actually.
And on that note, that's the end of the show, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Clark. Thank you to Soul. Thank you to Shad for joining me here today. We'll be back tomorrow for the Raw review. Allison Analysis returns tomorrow morning. And then, of course, later on in the night tomorrow, will be NXT off the air. We will see you guys then. Pa 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 pa.